This session is on abstract classes. Let's take a scenario. So we all get vehicle insurance. We approach different providers like Geico, Allstate, and many other companies and get a vehicle insurance quote. So basically there are three methods. One is we will be supplying the input details like our personal details, and then we'll be getting some quotes from the insurance companies. And we also, while for generating this code, the vehicle insurance company has to do some underwriting process. So the underwriting process will take care of what is the previous what is about your personal information, about your education, about your driving history, and other parameters like whether you had met with any accidents like that. So it is going to consider all the user details that you have entered, and based on that the underwriter will be writing a code for you. Okay, so this we know as a vehicle insurance company, any vehicle insurance company will be doing an underwriting. They know what to do. I mean, they are going to do the underwriting for you to get a quote. Let's say we have a Geico, which is one of the insurance company, and they have the methods. They wanted to reuse the methods of their general vehicle insurance company. So any vehicle insurance company is going to get the same personal details like the others are getting. They are not different, and all the insurance companies are going to provide you the quotes. That is also not different. So what is different is they are going to write underwriting. The underwriting process will be different with each company, so that they are giving different quotes when you approach the company. So the perform underwriting is a method which will be overridden by Geico, and they will be providing their own implementation so that they can come up with a better quotes. The same thing will be done by Progressive or Allstate or any other company. So they have to rewrite or they have to override the underwriting here, perform underwriting method. But can a vehicle insurance company generally implement this algorithm? May not be. So they can, but usually they will not be doing that because the underwriting process is specific to the company. What a vehicle insurance company can say, I mean, as a general routine, what they can say is they can say that the classes, any vehicle insurance companies has to perform underwriting. It can insist that it has to do it, but it will not be providing the implementations to the users. It will just give that you have to do it, but it will not provide the implementation. So that is called as abstract. So we just say that underwriting has to be performed. How you are going to do it? I will leave it to you. I will leave it to Geico to perform their own underwriting process. I will leave it to Progressive to perform their own underwriting process. But all that I will say is that you have to do it. I don't care how you are going to do it, but I will say that this has to be done. I will say what has to be done, but I will not say how it has to be done. So the child class must implement the abstract methods and perform the here there is no choice actually. In the previous example when we did the method overriding, there's choice. You can or you may not override the method because the method has been already implemented in the parent class. If you don't override it, you will be using the implementation from the parent class. But in this scenario, the parent class is not going to implement it. It is just going to define it. It's not going to implement it. It's just going to declare it. The child class has to compulsorily provide the implementation. So what here it says is the parent class knows what to be done. The parent class knows underwriting has to be done, but it does not know how to do it because it is dependent on the child classes. They will do it according to their own logic actually. So it doesn't want to implement it. So it delegates how to be done to the child classes. So that is the concept of abstract classes. So here the vehicle insurance is an abstract class, whereas Geico and Progressive are concrete classes. So they implement all the undefined methods. So abstract classes will provide some default behavior along with some behavior that should be implemented by the child class. So in our previous example, the vehicle insurance will provide some default behavior, which is getting the user details, getting the providing the codes. These are all some standard behavior which will be done by all the, which can be reused by all the subclasses. but it also says that one behavior which it is not doing, which is not implemented there, and it expects the child class to be getting it implemented. So contains both implemented and unimplemented methods. The abstract class contains both implemented and unimplemented methods. In our case, the underwriting is not implemented, whereas the other two methods are implemented by the parent class. So abstract keyword is added to the unimplemented methods. If even one method in a class is abstract, the whole class becomes abstract. In our case, we had three methods, and out of the three methods, two methods are implemented and only one method is not implemented, and it expects the child class to implement it. So that one method becomes abstract. That means I have not implemented it, so the method becomes abstract. If one method even becomes abstract, the class itself will become abstract because it is not fully defined, it is not complete. That, you know. Second thing is the reverse is not true. If you can still make a class as abstract, and you can have all the methods as defined actually. So even though you define all the methods in the class, you can still go ahead and make the class as abstract. It is completely legal to do that. But most of the time we are not going to do that, but it is completely legal to do that way. But the reverse is not true. If a method is abstract, the class has to be abstract. But if the class is abstract, the method need not be abstract. Although it will be most of the cases, but sometimes, there can be some situations where you wanted to basically have a class to be abstract, but your methods will all have the definitions. One such example is HTTP servlet, where the J2E has implemented that, and it's an advanced topic in Java. So they have implemented such scenario where they made a HTTP servlet class as abstract class, but all of those methods will be implemented there. So why they wanted to make the class as abstract? Because if you define a class as abstract, you will not be able to create objects for that. So abstract classes promotes inheritance and mandates the overriding here. So classes and methods cannot be final and abstract. So you know that why. What do you mean by final is this is the final implementation and no one can extend this. That is the concept of final. When you make a class as final. But what is abstract class is saying? The class is abstract. I wanted someone to inherit and provide the implementation. So because I'm not complete, I know what to be done, but I don't know how to be done. My child class has to come and do that how process so that my child class will be concrete, but I will be abstract. I wanted someone to extend me, but final class says, I don't want anyone to extend me. So they are contradicting factors. So a method cannot be final and abstract, and a class cannot be final and abstract. The same concept goes with method as well. If you make a method as abstract method, that means you are saying the compiler, some child class will come and implement this. I am not going to implement it. I know what to be done. I don't know how to be done. The child class whoever is inheriting me, they will provide the implementation. They know how to be done. So, but final says that this is the final method. No one can override me. Okay, so they are contradicting in nature. So objects cannot be created for the abstract class, as we said before. We cannot say new object of, but you can still have a reference to it. Abstract class can have constructors. Child classes can reuse the methods defined in the abstract class, as we mentioned before, and provide implementation for the unimplemented methods. Child class will become abstract if they don't implement the unimplemented methods from the abstract class. Let's see some examples. So I'll make a vehicle insurance class and define some methods. So we'll have get user details, and this is an implemented method, so I'm going to put get the user information, and I have one more method, provide codes. So this says Okay, so and then I have one more method, perform underwriting, right? So here I say perform void perform underwriting. So here I don't know how to implement this because it is going to be dependent on, it's completely independent. I don't have any logic to implement it. So I just wanted my child class to implement this. So I'm not going to have this curly braces here. So I'm just going to remove this and put a semicolon here. That means I'm not defining this method. I'm not implementing this method. I'm just saying that what to be done. I know that perform underwriting has to be done, but as a vehicle insurance, I don't want to do this. I want my child class to do this. So I wanted to mark this method as abstract. So this method is going to be abstract. Still, it's giving me an error. What it's saying is the abstract method can be only defined in the abstract class. That means if you make a method as abstract, you also need to make a class as abstract. Now this compiles for you. So what we are saying here, this method is, if I make one method as abstract, then the whole class needs to be abstract. But if I remove this method, still it works. If I save this, it still works. I can make a class as abstract without having any methods as abstract. It still works, but usually we don't do this. Okay, so now let's have some subclasses for this, which is going to provide the implementation for this class. So here it says extends vehicle insurance, and the moment I say extends vehicle insurance, you see that there is a error here. What it says is, hey, the type Geico must implement the inherited abstract method, perform underwriting. So if you want to become a class, if you don't want to become an abstract class, if you want to become a class, concrete class, then you have to implement the method. So you can simply say add unimplemented methods. So if you over this, you will get this one. So it is going to, you have to mandatorily provide this implementation. That means since the parent class has not defined this, you have to mandatorily define this so that you can be a class. Otherwise you have to be again abstract class. So here I can say Geico underwriting. Okay, so that's one thing, and I can have one more company, can be Progressive. Okay, so again, if I say Progressive extends vehicle insurance, I'll get the same message, and I need to override this. If at all I decided not to override this, then I can, I say this class is also abstract. That means it still has unimplemented methods. It got that unimplemented from the superclass vehicle insurance, and it has not implemented it. That means this class has to become an abstract class if you plan to not implement this. Okay, so but I wanted to implement this, so I'm just going to implement this method and change it to Progressive underwriting. Okay, so now I'll have a customer to test this. So let's say insurance test, have a main method. Okay, so you can have so let's first try to create a object for that. Vehicle insurance v is equals new vehicle insurance of. Okay, see now it says new vehicle insurance of error here, cannot instantiate the type vehicle insurance. That means you cannot create an object for vehicle insurance. Why? Because vehicle insurance is a abstract class. Why you cannot create an object for abstract class? Assume Java is allowing you to do this. What will happen then? With this instance, what do? You just go ahead and say v dot process underwriting. When you say v dot process underwriting, what will happen? There is no method there. So how it will be able to execute this? That's the reason. If a class is abstract, Java does not allow you to create any objects for that particular class. So what you can do now, you can create objects for Geico here. Yes, you can do it, and you can do g dot. You can call all the methods, like you can say provide codes, and you can say g dot perform underwriting. Even the other method you can access. First perform underwriting, provide the codes, and before that itself you will say get the information of the user. So get user details, and then perform underwriting and provide codes. So let's run this. So get the user information, Geico underwriting is happening, and provide codes to customer. So the same thing you can change it to progressive. Instead of Geico, you can change it to progressive as well. Okay, let me make it as G so that things works. So here, these two are methods from the parent class vehicle insurance, and the second one is from the child class, which is the overridden method, which is not which is an unimplemented method in the parent class. So this is how you call the methods of the abstract classes. So, but one interesting thing is, instead of progressive, you can still have vehicle insurance here. So you can still have a superclass reference to the subclass object actually. So and here I'm not having new vehicle insurance, I'm not creating a vehicle insurance object here. What I'm doing is I'm having a reference here, I'm not creating an object here. Since vehicle insurance is the parent of progressive and Geico, I can still have a superclass reference that is pointing to the subclass object. So you can do this, still it works. I'm sorry, it's using a different one. I need to save this, run this class. You'll see that progressive, still it works. And you can do the same thing just like how you did for the bank class. You can use the scanner and you can get it and perform this logic as well. We can do something different here. Let's try that. Insurance test. Okay. So I will say enter the provider here instead of bank name, and here I will make it as provider name. Okay. Now I'll write some couple of statements which is going to instantiate an object in a different way. So let's say class C is equals class dot for name of. So the package name is going to be till this polymorphism. So I'm just, oops, didn't copy it. Copied twice. Okay, so so this is the package name, and you can append that with let me put a dot here, dot the class name, which is the class that I'm going to get it from the user. Okay, so now this is your so this will give some exceptions actually. So let's handle that. So if you hover this, it says unhandled exception type. You can also do two things. which we will discuss these exceptions in the later sessions, but as of now you can simply say add throws declaration. So it will add some statements here. Now say I need this object, right? So I will say vehicle insurance. So vehicle insurance is reference can point to any object. This can be which extends that basically. It can be a Geico object or a progressive object. So we need to say c dot new instance. Okay. So this is another way to create an object. These two lines of statement is another way to create an object. Normally what we do is we used to create like Geico G is equal to new Geico off like this. So or here we did vehicle insurance G is equal to new progressive off. The same thing I'm doing here, vehicle insurance V is equal to, instead of new progressive off, I'm saying, C dot get new instance. So here what I do here is, okay, C dot new instance. What is C here? C is nothing but class dot for name of the package name wherever I'm in, and then I'm just adding the provider name. So what is provider name? That is something given by the user. So if the user gives me Geico, my class name will be com.java-tutorial oop.polymorphism.geico. If he gives progressive, I'll have this package name dot progressive. Basically, it is loading the Geico class or the progressive class. Once it loads the class, it is going to create an object of the class. And when you create an object of the class, it will be having the superclass called object type. I'm just casting that into vehicle insurance type. Actually, that's what the casting does here. So once it does done, now I have the vehicle insurance object, and I can receive in this V, I can receive a Geico object, I can receive a progressive object. If you add a new insurance tomorrow, Allstate insurance, it will have a Allstate object as well. So I don't need to perform any code changes here. So with this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call invoke the methods. So I'm going to call v dot and v dot. Right. So now I'm going to run this program. So it's asking me the provider. Now I'm going to give Geico. So it's giving Geico underwriting. So if I run this program again and give progressive, make sure you are having the same class name what you have it here, otherwise you are going to get some exceptions. Now you get progressive underwriting. So this is a classic example of runtime polymorphism. When you run the program, you don't know which one it's going to work with. At runtime, this vehicle insurance will get any of these objects that is created based on your inputs, and it is going to call the perform underwriting method of that class actually. So I didn't change this code at all. Now if you want to add one more insurance company, like say new class, say Allstate, and extends vehicle insurance, and implement the methods, unimplemented method. So here you can say this out. Oops. Okay. So I implemented it. I just added the new class. I didn't change any of this customer. Any of this insurance test class. I'm just keeping it open and I'm just running this. I just added a new insurance company. I'm just adding this and then running this. Now I give Allstate. So now it's saying Allstate in. So the thing is, I can replace my implementation at runtime actually. So I can say like instead of Geico, you can give this object, that object. So the implementations or the provider can be swapped at the runtime, and I don't need to change my code since I have coded not for the Allstate object. If I would have written for Allstate object, I have to write Allstate A is equal to new Allstate and then say A dot perform underwriting. But I have not written for Allstate object or Geico object or anything like that. I have written the code for the superclass reference, since I have written for vehicle insurance, as long as you have a subclass of vehicle insurance, I will be able to accommodate with the same code. I don't need to change code. I'm not writing the code for the specific object. I'm writing the code for the superclass. So that covers the abstract classes.